All right. Hello. Wake up. Good morning. Wherever you are in the world, waking up to your potential. We're so excited to have you here. Daniel, how are you today?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you as always. And we make things work.
We do. As some of you all can tell, I'm coming at you live from a vehicle, from a rental car. The Wi-Fi went out on Airbnb, and it's all about as we've done here, the whole thing was about out creating ourselves. So if you're just listening and you can't tell, and I'm in the car, and one of the things we always do is we talk about how we can out create ourselves here. And so I had a breakdown. Great Wi-Fi this morning. Everything was ready for Daniel. Here he is.
Good morning, everyone.
Suddenly, the Wi-Fi just disappeared. I tried every device. I wrote the host. I reset everything, and then I just decided to drive to the local coffee shop and use their Wi-Fi. So I out created the situation rather than getting frustrated and shutting down. I just said, "What else is possible?" And that's one of the things we ask ourselves a lot here to wake up to our potential. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Tuttle has entered the
Hi,
building.
everyone. How is everyone? So happy to be here. Yeah, Ben, that's such a common thing, right? It's like, but the question is, how often do we really give up? You know, when we feel like we are at that stage, like you were today, when there was nothing working, no Wi-Fi working, nothing working. You had absolutely, you know, you could have said, yeah, it's not going to happen today. Let's let it go. But you didn't. Thank God you didn't. And you were like, hey, I have this idea. Let me do this. What else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? Just being kind of open to wherever the energy takes you, open to where the universe takes you, And coming off of the holidays, I'm sure many of us had situations where we found ourselves in places where we were like, whoa, dude, what did I get myself into? Right? And sometimes it's not even necessarily like a direct thing. It's not like, oh my God, it's my family or whatever. Like sometimes, for my holidays, I always go home to Orlando, which is where I was born and raised, and I love being with my family. I have a great relationship with my
Wait,
family.
Daniel, I just want to pause you real quick because I'm having problems hearing you for some reason. I don't know if it's my connection or your headphones. But I just want to know, can everybody else hear Daniel?
On which
Sound
device
okay?
can you hear me? No.
It's just through my laptop. Suddenly your voice sounds like a robot.
Ah, okay. Am I sounding like a robot to everybody?
Can anyone, if you're listening right now,
Yvette is here. Hi, Yvette. Good
hi.
morning. Can you hear
Oh,
us
we can
okay?
just keep
Yvette?
going. It could be my phone.
Okay.
I mean, my. Oh
So
no. Wait. Yeah, someone is saying your audio is bad.
my audio is bad. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just
I just got a
hold on.
message about that. Daniel's audio is bad. Good thing you called it out because it's not working. Okay.
How about that better?
Yes. Suddenly. Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry guys. So yeah, I
That's great.
also was home. Love being
Good
home.
morning.
Good morning. We're official now. We have good
We're
sound,
official
good
now.
Wi-Fi. It's okay. It's all good. Anyway, for me, going home is like I love being with my family. I have a great family. I have a great relationship with my family. But it's always a reminder because my parents live in the house basically that I grew up in, right? And so those energies that we have to be reminded from the past, right? I'm always walking the streets or driving around or going somewhere or whatever. There's always a memory from the past, and it's always something that is kind of like a trigger. And I learned this year to really, instead of go to that place, to allow myself to be grateful for where I am now, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
allow myself to
100%.
take those experiences and those examples from the past, from my childhood, and be thankful for them, but also recognize, I'm a different individual. I'm a different being now. I don't necessarily have to choose that,
Mm.
So it's beautiful.
Well, I'm so
You're at
happy to
home too.
hear
You're in
that.
Chattanooga, right?
Yeah. And one of the, that's one of the things that brought up the topic today was how to survive the holidays and the family. And
Right.
there used to be a men's group I was a part of, and these guys started calling the holidays like the Bermuda Triangle for people who are trying to, who have boundaries. And it was actually a group of men who we worked on boundaries together, and we studied self-care and meditation. And it was really, really special in reparenting ourselves. And that's how I really got into men's work, is I saw how powerful that experience was. And the thing was, we were, they called it the Bermuda Triangle, because there was these three things like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year's. And it's these events where we feel, and I always add Valentine's Day to that, because there's these days where we feel, where society tells us we're supposed to be doing something or it's supposed to look a certain way. I don't even know who's telling us that, but we're some reason we've all agreed on it.
Right.
And many of us feel those pressures to perform or to come together, or that we have to get along with family, or you like have to have an amazing day on your birthday, or you have to have the most romantic night of your life with
Right.
someone else or yourself on Valentine's Day, or you have to be in the perfect place on New Year's Eve, and
Yeah.
all of those things. And I've had, if it's anything like me, I've had to destroy and uncreate, as you say, Daniel, that in all areas of my life in the pandemic, because my family said I couldn't come home for the first time ever. I was like, what do you mean I can't come home? I always come home. They're like, no, we're high risk. We actually think it's better if you don't. And then the next year, like my father having passed away, and all these new situations to create newly. And a lot of us, just being around family can bring up a lot. Or like you said,
Totally.
just driving through your hometown. My God, I still think I'm in trouble. Like I'm in high school sometimes.
Me
And I'm
too.
driving around. The only car I have is this like red sports car Charger looking thing. It was like all they had available, right? But
Yeah.
it's like, it definitely like people have judgments about me driving around and stare. And so it's just, I'm finding that there's actually great tips and tools, and that I'm sharing this because I find we're not alone, and
Yes.
we actually don't have to dread the holidays, because there's actually tools that work that help us create great boundaries
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
great self-care. You can actually thrive. You don't have to just survive. That's
Right.
my point.
Also, you make such a great point, Ben, about when your family said you were uninvited. I mean, God bless them. Being
I
uninvited.
do love them. At least they
Exactly.
were honest.
At least they were honest, but it doesn't, absolutely. At least they were honest. God bless them. Of course, they were protecting themselves. All good. But also think about what that does to us. I know that immediately triggers an internalization of like rejection, right?
Yeah.
It triggers rejection. It triggers all of these things, abandonment, all of these things, and it has nothing to do with you, right? It has nothing to do with you. The most important gift that we have here is the ability to say, okay, you know what? Who does this belong to? It's not mine, right? And what can I do to create greater from it? And I'm sure you and Cassie had a lovely Christmas, the two of you, and you made it special and did whatever you did. And it's reminding ourselves that there's always another possibility, right? But to stay locked into that place of feeling rejected and abandoned and making something about us, guys. How often are we making something about us that has nothing to do with us?
I mean,
Right?
family members who are even quote unquote out to get you,
Yeah.
consider
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, exactly.
What if
Exactly.
it didn't? I mean, that person that you're most struggling with, there's an immediate family member that there's two family members in my life that are struggling with their own relationship, and
Yeah.
It's really painful to watch, but they're both dealing with themselves inside of this
Of
because
course.
they're siblings, and they have very different views of the world, but they've developed these ways of staying safe to protecting themselves. So when
Right.
someone doesn't experience life the same way you do, it can feel very unsafe.
Yes.
And we have been very polarized in our country. And rather than focusing on our differences, one of the things I love to do, I have an uncle who has completely polar opposite political beliefs as I do, and a lot of the and my immediate family can be very like liberal, progressive, and the rest of my family very conservative. So there can be these rifts, and I actually it was like came to a point where we don't talk about politics in family gatherings. That was one of the tools,
Mhm.
one of the rules. But I actually started sitting my uncle down and asking him about it. I actually wanted to know. I wanted to learn his experience, and that
Yeah.
brought us closer together.
Yep.
Because I said, what is it like for you? How do you think? And can I have compassion? Even if we can't teach an old dog new tricks, can we just learn and listen?
Right.
And most of the time, people just want to be seen and heard, and they feel so scared if not. And it's just an
Well, maybe
opportunity
that's
to
where the resistance
practice these
comes.
tools that work and the boundaries that work.
Absolutely. Exactly, Ben. That's where the resistance comes, just from not being heard.
Mm,
There's also a tool that I love, an access consciousness tool. It's called Interesting Point of View. And it's being the space for everyone to be able to be them, no matter what. But how
yeah.
often are you so triggered by that person? You're so triggered by that person that you put up so much resistance, so many walls and barriers. You go to the other side of the room and you bitch and moan, and you're like, I can't fucking believe this asshole is still doing this, talking about whatever. And instead of just really taking the time in that space and being like, wow, that's such an interesting point of view.
Mm,
In your head, you can say, I don't have that point of view, but interesting point of view. An interesting point
mm,
of view, you have that point of view. And allow the space to just, all you're doing is giving someone the opportunity to be heard, right?
mm.
It's the resistance that's creating the fragmentation. It's the resistance that's creating the the walls and barriers that don't allow us to get close to people, you know? And what would it take for us to be an interesting point of view towards everything? Think about it. How many times are you walking down the street or driving in traffic and somebody cuts you off and, or whatever? And all the time, these
Yeah.
energies are coming at you. And you're like,
Yeah.
and again, you make it about you. You make it
You
about
do.
you. You go into the wrongness of you. You try to
Yeah,
fix
the
what you
world's
can.
out to get me. It's just one of those days. Everything's gone to shit. Yeah. And you'll see proof of that
Exactly.
if that's your point
Exactly.
of view. So, this interesting point of view is a great access, Daniel, to see something else,
Yeah,
a different point of view.
totally.
Um, and also, asking questions is a great thing. There's a couple other things I noticed, and Daniel's got a client very soon, so we're staying focused and intentional today. But I just wanted to share, taking breaks from family and time for yourself is really important and okay anytime. To have feelings is okay, and rather than using this time just to numb out with family or with other people or with yourself, I would encourage, one of my favorite things to do is just take a walk, and I just sit and listen to those feelings, or join Daniel's daily downloads in the morning and sit and meditate with them.
Yeah.
I went to my mom with to kind of a scary doctor's appointment for her yesterday, and we just sat in a room for half an hour, and she's getting some treatment. And I use that whole time to practice this meditation and surround her and myself with healing, and mostly to relieve her of all of the stuff she's dealt with she really battles depression. There's generations of it in my family, and she's had a lot of trauma in her life, and she is, of her all of her family members really, and having been born in the early 40s, she's taken on self-care and wellness, and still to this day, you know, in her late 70s, seeks care
Huge.
and ask for
Right.
help before you go be of service to anyone else, or before you go out there and, you know, really do anything, like even try to drive in the morning. It's really
Yeah.
helpful just to take a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, have you taken any time for yourself? What if you you took your self-care as seriously as you took your job or making a living?
Right. And also, you know, one of the greatest tools that we have is to just have a glass of water. Have some
Yeah.
water. Water is so healing. You know,
Every
some of
morning.
my friends will, or
I
some of
even
my
carry it
clients,
in the car.
exactly. Some of my clients will call me in like complete panic mode and they're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I said, first of all, have some water. And just think about the physical act of like having to go and pour yourself a glass of water is already removing you from a situation. Even if you have it right here, it's stopping to say, okay, you know what? I'm engaging with this. And there are many, many spiritual traditions that say that the element of water is actually the closest thing that we have in this physical realm to God. Okay. And so, what if you allowed yourself to have the space to say, you know what? I'm going to take a second, me and God, and I'm going to fill my vessel, fill my being with that energy that is the light of the creator. Right. And it sounds so simple, and it is so simple. But guys, my friends, life is simple. It's not complicated, and it's not meant to be complicated. And nobody wants you to suffer. Nobody. Nobody wants you to suffer. Nobody wants to see you suffer, believe it or not. Even those who you think are your enemies, or those who you want to suffer, believe it or not, your enemies actually want you to overcome them. Right? It's always a test. Things are never, ever what they seem to be. But how can we align and agree with who we are to connect with that source within us, to choose for us, right? To choose an interesting point of view. Who does that belong to? Because that energy is not mine. That fear, that doubt, that insecurity, that frustration, that anger is not mine. And I'm going to let it go, you know? And friends, as you're going to
And if you're listening, it's not yours either.
That's right. Exactly.
Daniel's
And
speaking like, you know, in the first point of view, but take that on for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
This is great to listen to, but I want you to actually practice this for yourself. This is the point.
You're telling me to practice it for myself too, right?
Well, you are, yeah. And the
I
water
always find
analogy is beautiful. I want to bring the water thing for 5 seconds in, because there's an actual study that the way you talk to water scientifically, you can watch the molecules. So if you yell at it, they frazzle, they move. If you speak love to it, they come together, and you can actually change your water. So you can even speak to it before you drink it in the morning. It sounds bizarre, but hey, if nothing else is working, try this. If
And
your
do you
way
remember
isn't
that
working,
guy's name?
I dare you to try
Miramoto?
these things.
Who was the
What's
one
that?
that did the water? Who is the one that did the water thing? The Japanese guy.
I don't know the name, so I won't try to
But
do
you
that.
can Google it on YouTube. Water experiment or something
Mhm.
like that. It's really powerful. Ben,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sorry
you
I
can
have to leave. Okay. Because I have to run to another meeting. But
yeah, you get to go spread your light elsewhere.
I am giving you the gold star today. Not that you need it from me, but I'm giving you the gold star today because for me, you set up the precedent to make things happen. So I appreciate that. And I thank you for that inspiration. And that's how I'm going to live my day today. And thank you guys all. Thank you all for being here. If you're just joining now, please go back and watch and share the love with everybody.
Tag a family member.
Tag a family member. Exactly.
And subscribe. We'll see you same time, same place next week. And comment, let us know what's worked. Send us a message.
Yeah.
And if no one told you they love you today, we love you.
We love you.
Now go practice some self-care and love for yourself.
And have some water.
Yeah, and have some water.
Exactly.
Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
man. I love you.
And I love you so much. Mwah. Bye, guys.
Mwah. Adios.